I get all excited about new people coming. All right, now back to the screen share. Okay, there you are. Okay. All righty, so distance sessions. So the first place I want to start is from this idea that we are more than our physical body. Now, all of you being here tonight would say to me that you already have a sense of that. But that's a really important principle if you're giving or receiving, is that concept of knowing that that is true. We have an energy field, just like the image. If you looked up the image of an atom, it's going to show you this little thing in the center with all these little moving parts, but it's going to have this field around it. And we're made up of, 70 trillion of those kinds of items. And so here we are. We've got a field, but it's a shared field of all of our atoms put together. So what I do to organize my sessions and my process is that I divide the person's body up into 4 bodies. You have your physical body. This is the one that you touch and oh, okay, but this is energy too. It's just the cells and the vibration is at such a rate or frequency that it feels like it's physical, that it's solid. So you have a physical, an emotional, a mental, and a spiritual. And those, they go away, away from the physical body. It's like layers is how it's usually described. And it's really an important place to start with because it helps you to grasp everyone, every client that's new to energy work or doing virtual sessions. When they realize that they have these 4 bodies and only one of them is the physical, the other 3 gives us a lot of access to that person. So that's a really important model to convey what distant work, how it really works, is we're accessing your energy field, 3 out of 4 of your energy bodies. All right, so let's start with Reiki. How many of you have Reiki training? Just, you can raise your hands. Yeah. Okay. Valerica, I know, does. Okay. So if you're using Reiki, for instance, then you're taught in level 2 that there's a distance symbol. But one of the things that this is my nature, is I'm a really curious person. So I started doing research on how could a symbol help me do distant work? Like, what's that really mean? And the more research I did, the more I realized or found out that the word in Japanese actually means like a bridge. I was like, okay, so the bridge, when you use that distant symbol, it's a bridge from this present person here to whomever or whatever you're working on. So that was a really curious thing, because then if you're going to cross a bridge, an energetic bridge, the thing that I do is I open the door. I always put one of the, like the power symbols in Reiki, I would put that on the door, and then I'm going to open the door. It's kind of like knocking. Hello, I'm coming. But I open the door, and then this is how I see it visually, is that it's like a little corridor, little hallway, and that I'm actually going into a place, an energetic space that is no time and space, which is the reason why I can do the session right then and there, and the animal feels it instantly, or the human feels it instantly, is because we're in a space. So that hallway bridge takes me to this room or container, whatever you visualize. But that's what I see when I say, okay, I'm going to do a session. I'm going to use this distance session symbol. I'm going to open the door. I'm going to walk that bridge. And then I'm going to do my session. So whatever, if you're a Reiki practitioner, whatever you do in a session, some people do the prayer, some people meditate before, some people call in all the energies. Whatever your session protocol is, that's what you would do in the session. So then the next place is, again, energetically clean. And this backing out comes from my shamanic training. When you go into a space that is not this dimension, you want to have good energetic hygiene. So you don't turn around and walk out. You back up because you don't want to bring any energy that you can't see or be aware of, because the back of our body has really no sensory, it definitely has no vision, those kinds of things. So it's just a clean, energetic hygiene technique. So you back out, come back across the bridge, you close the door, and then you close that bridge and portal and session with the power symbols, one of the power symbols. So that's my like Reiki technique for the distance session. So I'm going to stop the share part and see if anybody has any questions about that, or if that all makes sense to you. And sorta, maybe. So what would you like to, what dear? Do you have a question? Dorothy?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Everybody's good? That made lots of sense? Good. Carolyn? Oriana? What about you, Terry?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, made sense. And Millie, do you have Reiki training?
Reiki 1.
Okay. So haven't gotten into the distance symbol yet. Okay.
Yeah,
Look.
I tried to get Reiki 2, but it never happened.
Okay. No, that's good. It's because then when you do have that training, you'll be ready with this kind of concept of what the distance symbol does for the whole practice of energy. So even, you know, when I'm doing a group or individuals or animals, or it doesn't, this is the clean way for me, it's hygiene. I go in, here's how I do it, I go out. Because it's really important to have a clear beginning and a clear end is really important. It's in the physical world, what do we want to do, right? We want to start a conversation and we want to end a conversation. But in the energy world, because we can't see it, many times we will assume like that it's fine. You can't see it, right? That kind of idea. Like today I was texting back and forth with the client, and she was wondering why so-and-so hadn't answered her text. And I said, maybe the person's, you know, just taking a break, or maybe this, you know, I said, sometimes that's really an energetic boundary to not be available for a day or whatever it is. So you just, and that, she had never even thought about something like that. Just the fact that somebody might not text you back that moment because they just needed energetically space. So it's kind of interesting when you start putting it in a energy viewpoint as to how the dynamics might change. Okay, so let's go to the next one, the thought forms. Okay. Okay. So working with a thought form, I first got introduced to this idea of a mental image when I learned the object meditation. So and this is a Buddhist technique of meditation, and it basically goes like this. Let's say you're, holding up your pen. I'm looking at the pen, I'm looking at the pen, I'm looking at the pen. And now I feel like I have an image, a mental image that I've created in my mind. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to hold that image for as long as I can. And then when I can't hold that image anymore and I get distracted, I'm going to open my eyes and I'm going to look at the pen again. I'm going to look at the pen, I'm going to look at the pen, and then I'm going to I got it. And then I'm going to close my eyes and do it again. And hold the image in my mind for as long as I can. And then I might, and in the technique of object meditation, you do it 3 times. Okay, so now I've done it 3 times. And the idea is all meditation is to create mental stability. Your ability to stabilize your thinking and your mind is the idea of all meditation. So as you practice this idea of a mental image, you may have somebody send you a picture of your, the animal, the person, because I work with both. You may have somebody send you the picture and you look at the picture, and then you hold the image of the picture of this person or animal, and then I will do the session, whatever the session is. It might be Reiki, but it could be some other type of energy work. But the most important part is when I feel like I'm not holding on to the thought, the mental image of this person or animal, then I open my eyes, reconnect the picture, and then close my eyes and hold on to that image, seeing the person that has, blonde hair or black hair, and they're wearing glasses and they've got a cute little shirt on, or whatever it is that keeps me focused on the mental image. And in thought form work, what really facilitates that skill is meditating, especially object meditation. So what you find is that you're more able to hold that mental image longer and longer as you practice. So needless to say, as the meditation gets stronger, what you'll find is that you're able to hold this mental image the entire session. When I'm doing a distance session and the person's not on the phone or on virtual or Zoom or Skype or whatever, then I usually am emailing or texting them and saying I'm starting the session. We've agreed that they're going to lay down, they're not going to drive a car, they're all these things. I have either the image of the person or the animal, and I do that practice if I'm doing a thought form based session. So whatever, if I'm doing IET, then in the middle, once I've got my image, I'm doing IET, then I begin and end the session for the way IET does it. And then now at the very end of it, the most important part is to dismiss the energy of that thought form. And the way you dismiss the mental image is you can clap, you can ring chimes, your tingsas, the little bells that you see, right? Those kinds of things. You can snap your fingers. But the most important part is it's, again, an energetic hygiene. You start your session, you've got your image, you do the session, and then you release the energy. And that's a really important step. So I'm going to stop the share and see if anybody has any questions. Nope. Wow, you guys are quiet. No questions? I would have thought oh, you know what? Valerica usually asks a lot of questions. She's really good. Has anybody ever done the object meditation? That idea of holding a thought form?
No.
This is when you don't connect with people directly. Yep. Is it directly? That's an interesting word she's asking. Like, when everything is virtual, what really does directly mean? So I would say anytime I'm not treating in the physical, the person is not physically with me, I, in one way or another, establish the connection for the distance session using one of these 3 techniques. I think that might answer your question, Valerica. That was a good question. Because I need to find the link to their energy. I need to really see, here's my physical body and how am I going to connect? So one way is the Reiki symbol, bridge. Thought form is a mental image, which is all about the power of our mind, if you will. That's what you're using this is where, The Secret, the movie The Secret, the Law of Attraction, all of these are based on this idea of how powerful our minds are. Affirmations are based on it. I mean, there's a lot of mind research, if you will. So it's important. Do you have a question, Valerica?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
So my question was, do you use the thought form with the Reiki also?
Usually not.
No.
I find that the bridge, the distance symbol is really very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful, wonderful way of, and especially if the session is Reiki,
Yes.
then it is a clean and clear way and technique. Again, energetically sound hygiene.
Yes.
Thought form is a little different just because it depends upon where, when, that kind of thing. And the way I learned each one of these is I started out with Reiki. Then I started really being much more meditation. Then I learned the object meditation and I was like, wow. So this really took it up another level, because really, if you're not meditating, you can't really use object meditation because the mind has to be able to hold on to that image.
Yes. So if there is no phone connection or video during the session, then you use the thought.
Well, actually, I use either the thought form or I'll go to the third one, which is the hologram.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question. Good. Okay. So you guys feel ready to go to the third one? Yes? What you need, love?
Sometimes in the past, I've heard people talk about needing to have like their arms down in a certain way or something, or not crossed or something. And do you think it really matters?
You mean when they're receiving?
Yes.
Um, well, it actually depends on the person that's sending the work, so the practitioner, and then the other person, like how healthy are they energetically? So you've got, the powerhouse of the practitioner, how clear are they? And that's where I found I needed to really be clear about my connection so that I knew that I had done all I could to help. And then if the person is like driving a car, that's really not a safe place, because if anybody's ever had energy session, you sometimes decide to leave energetically. You're not aware of what's going on and you come back. You don't want that to happen while you're in a car. So does it matter? It depends upon the person. Because when you for instance, cross your arms like this, in the like in polarity and acupuncture, those are the two first ones that pop into my mind. When you cross this, you're crossing positive and negative charges. So if the person's out of balance and I'm sending work, energy, it's going to be easier for them to absorb it if they're not blocking it. Does that answer the question?
Kind of, kind of. I'm thinking more of someone holding like a teddy bear or something like that. And I'm thinking if that's a comfort to the person, then that's more important than having their hands at their sides.
The teddy bear, not a problem. That's an inanimate object. It's not going to block energy. But a person physically, like crossing their legs and crossing their arms, yes.
Okay, okay,
Because you're basically closing down the circuits.
okay.
So good question, but it's being mindful about the electrical lines of our body, because we know we're electrical. We've all done that, right? You've rubbed your feet on the ground and you go zap to somebody. That's a conduction of energy. And it looks like that. Whereas when, like I do polarity, this is my sending hand, my right, this is my receiving hand. And if I want to power it up, I take another charge. This is considered fire to air. So I can really get that energy moving down that particular current or pathway by being very clear, again, energetic hygiene of how to send that energy.
Okay, thank you.
A little bit more?
Mm-hmm.
That was a good question. Okay, ready? We'll do that third one. Okay, go here. Okay, so the last one is the hologram. And this, the hologram technique of doing distant work was introduced to me probably about 10 years ago when I took Melchizedek method. And it's just another energy body of work, but it's considered a holographic healing technique. So a hologram is a three-dimensional image of light. That's the definition. And my idea, I call it creative visualization. I say, let's say I'm gonna do a session on Susie, and Susie's in Iceland. So I ask for the energy, the light that is Susie's, and I bring that in right here on my desk. And I ask for a hologram of Susie. So I want a third third dimension, three-dimensional image of light that represents Susie. So that if I turn that ball of light around, I can see the back side, her right side, her left side. So it is not a physical body like the mental image is. It is just energy. And yes, it's different colors and things like that. Now I can see that with my physical eye, but I also, if I'm, needing to, I can close my eyes and see what I see through the clairvoyance. That's what you're looking for in the hologram. So creative visualization just means, I believe that it is so. So I trust that this light is coming in and it's going to represent the energy of Susie. So once I have that connection with her, then I'm going to do my session, whatever the session is. So if I'm doing the Melchizedek work, because it is also holographic and the way it works, and then I'm going to do that session from the beginning to the end. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to dismiss the hologram. Same way. I'm going to snap my finger. I'm going to use my tinctures. I'm going to clap. Or I might also, sometimes I'll have the person who I'm working with, maybe they're a practitioner too. And then I'm going to say, okay, so we're going to let go of each other. I know some different teachers will have you cut a cord, but that's basically what we're wanting to do is release the energy from the hologram. So I'm going to, so questions about that one? That one's a little more sophisticated. I'll use that. Has anybody ever done any training in hologram or holographic healing? Yeah. I was going to say, I thought you've taken Melchizedek, haven't you, Boriana?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
One.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but we did a lot of that.
Right. There's a lot in that class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't teach you how to establish the hologram if you're treating the person. And that is again the same way when I learned about Reiki. I was like, well, how does this distance symbol work? I mean, most of you know me by now. I'm a really curious person. It's like, well, okay, just because you say it is so, how does that go? I don't understand that. And so I've read lots of books on holograms and holographic. How do you do that? And how do you create a holographic image, if you will, here? And that's my understanding is because one, I believe that all I have to do is say energy's here, because energy follows thought. And then once I see it, whether I see it with my actual eyes or with my clairvoyance, because everybody can see in some way, shape, or form. It depends upon what you're connected with. And then from there, I just do the work. So, but a key piece for both of the thought form and the hologram is dismiss the energy when you're done. Energetic hygiene. It's like washing your hands. Yes, ma'am.
I wondered, does the 3D holographic light image change shape, or does it usually present as like either a ball or like a figure that's sort of a 3D person, sort of, that could spin around or something?
Well, it doesn't usually, for me, could be for, like if you're doing it with your imagination, you might be able to see more detail. Mine it looks more like the, the, what's the night, the Northern Lights.
Oh, nice.
Moving energy.
Wow.
Hmm.
So it's moving energy. And as I work on the person, then it will change. That's how I know that there's something going on.
Okay.
I might also feel it in my own body. So this is part of that intuitive things that we've talked about for some of you guys who've been in the different classes. And, you know, so you're just paying attention to the feedback I'm getting from the energy so that
Okay.
I know I made a change or not, you know. That was a good question. So the distance sessions, they're very possible. There's other ways to connect to, like, you know, we have a electromagnetic grid on the earth that's well documented. And, you know, that's another way of connecting. I don't always use that one as much, but it doesn't mean that I haven't. It's just, these are the three most, I use them the most often because they're clean. They're clean, they're easy, I get the information just like that. And the same thing. So for any of you who have Reiki, you could start this immediately. If you have a meditation practice, you could start thought form work immediately. It's just that you want to make sure that you'll notice when you do, for instance, thought form work, how much you're like, okay, I was saying I was meditating. This will tell you the efficiency of your meditation practice. This is one of the ways it informs your life, but it'll also inform if you're doing sessions, your work. So pretty cool. Like Valerica's, yep. Do you need permission for the holographic healing? Always need permission.
Oh, yeah.
Always need permission.
Okay, you just answered my question too.
Yeah. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, I was about to ask, do you need permission before you do any of this?
Always. It's energetic hygiene. It's always, it's,
Both parties.
yes. You know, so if I'm sending you work and you've not, and you know, maybe you, we'll just use it. Maybe you texted me and you're like, I'm not doing very good. And then I'll go, okay, is there any way I can help? And you're like, sure, maybe, or whatever, you know, that's not permission. So then I'll say, this is my way. I want to, do you want to give me permission to do this? Reiki, energetic, you know, you want me to do IET? Because if you think about that energetically, it's clear. I don't want there to be any fuzzy energy. I'm going to be as clear as I can because I want to be clean and clear. When we mucky the words or we kind of beat around the bush, then that's exactly the kind of energy. So permission just means that the person's on board. And so I'm going to give you an example. So here's, my mother has a heart attack. She did. My family reaches out, my father, one of my brothers, I can't remember. So I immediately started sending her Reiki, immediately. And I could feel it coming back at me. Kind of like, you know, ocean, water coming back at you. And my mother doesn't believe in it. I didn't have permission. I made an assumption, right? I made an assumption because I love her. I didn't have permission. That was she was a great teacher. She's a great teacher on many levels. But that was really an important teaching. So I always make sure I have permission. Many times people don't believe in it. Yes, love. Boyana.
I remember this story. I have heard it from you before.
Yeah.
And it has helped me a lot to know my boundaries. What I was doing for the last 2 years, we were taking care of my mother-in-law in her house with cancer and very increasing dementia.
Mm.
Before that, she has, when she had some problems, she had given me permission to do a Reiki session. So we are talking about before.
Right.
Since she fell really ill, and then I asked her a couple of times, Mom, I do this. She never gave me permission. So the only thing that I was doing all these 2 years was to send light to her chakras and to her body when I was giving her a sponge bath every morning.
Mm.
And I didn't do anything else, or almost never, even when in the last days and hours. And I just want to ask you if I was doing something correct, or if I overstepped my boundaries.
Well, it sounds like you were trying to be
I was just sending light, but kind of very general. I
Well,
didn't do any healing because I
right.
didn't have the permission.
That's right. Well, and then this isn't part of our topic here. So what I'm going to do is just stop the recording.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, you're good. You're good.
It just came up.
No, you're good. You're good. Do you want to stop?